We are excited to we are excited to welcome you to this very special month, a month so dear to women globally. That's the International Women's Day, International Women's Month. And it's the season of celebration, of highlighting what women do and what women continue to do to contribute to global development. Here in Women in Mining Nigeria, we run a training institute where we bring very exceptional women from all over the world, irrespective of where they are, to come share their experiences with us. And we look at trending subjects because we are not what I call a technical group per se, where you are looking at geology, geo this, geo that. No, we look at contemporary issues as it affects women, because we are mindful of the fact that mining, the word mining, miners are for investors. They are for people who live in mining environments, who have been impacted by mining, whose lives are transformed from the consequences of mining. So to get them equipped, we often make sure we delve into subjects around them, maybe looking at governance issues, looking at environmental issues, and looking at technical issues around them, negotiation issues, how to negotiate with mining companies and all that. So we are very, very happy to have all of you joining today and coming to listen to some of our best from the continents and our associates from Netherlands. So we want to say thank you to all of you who have joined because of time. And we have one of our sisters who I really want to celebrate. In fact, I told her, I said, you just have to put me on, because when you see her CV is very intimidating. And success is not a function of age. So I love when people talk of youth, or when people talk of old. No, it's not a function of age. It's a function of determination, it's a function of choice, and a function of luck. Everything woven together. So when you find one, you better hold on to that one you find. It makes it a lot easier for you. I found Rogo, and I'm going to hook on to her. She has no choice. She has to put me under her wings and guide me through. So let me just briefly take you through, because for some of us, it's our first time. Let me take you through what the association stands for. Women in Mining Nigeria is a member of the AWIMA network. AWIMA is an association founded by African Union and regulated by African Mining Development Center. As we speak, everybody is in Addis Ababa celebrating the 16th anniversary of African Mining Vision. That's a vision born out by African leaders to ensure the sustainability of Africa through the utilization of mineral resources. To ensure that Africa becomes developed, all Africans came together, the heads of state in Addis Ababa under the African Union, and endorsed what they call the establishment of AMDC under the EETI, such that we could all look at our legal frameworks, come up with common policies, common agenda to be able to drive mineral resources development in Africa. And one of the pillars, there are 9 pillars to Africa Mining Vision. And one of the robust pillars is the gender issue. So in their wisdom, they encouraged the formation of women in mining across countries. So in some French countries, it is called AFEMIN, depending on your language, but in Nigeria, as is Women in Mining Nigeria, and it's a one country, one organization thing for proper management and coordination. So as we speak, the current president, whom I'm so proud of because of her articulation, Zenzi Awasis, is leading the group in Addis. This morning, they have a very, very robust debate, which I'm sure maybe towards the end of the session, if we finish, if we have time, we might air it, or if you go to our YouTube channel or the YouTube channel of AWIMA or the linking pages, you will find the robust contribution by past presidents of AWIMA and the current presidents. And I'm happy that Women in Mining Nigeria was privileged to be part of that debate. So coming now to Women in Mining Nigeria. Women in Mining Nigeria is a leading non-profit organization dedicated to advancing gender equality and empowering women across all levels of the Nigerian mineral exploration and mining sector. With a robust network of over 5,000 members spanning 27 states, we are a powerful force driving positive change throughout the nation. And let me quickly explain the 5,000 membership. The 5,000 membership is made up of housewives living in mining communities whose husbands work in the mining sector, women who are working as artisans at the lower level, at the lower cadre, you understand, who are working in the mining sector. We have some career professionals who believe, oh, they have something to offer and who are equally there. We have women who are professionals by their own standard, women who dare to be different, who are equally mining. So it's a mixed bag, and we meet the needs of the various groups. So you find some of our women who are into gemstone trading, you have some who are into mining, you have some who are into exploration work. So diverse things and that's what makes it a unique organization. And interestingly, we have some men who are he for she, who decides, we believe in you, we want to support you, we want to handhold you, who are equally there. We are committed to creating a more inclusive and equitable mining industry where women have equal opportunities to thrive and contribute their valuable skills and expertise. We achieve this through a multifaceted approach that includes capacity building programs as this, advocacy initiatives, mentorship opportunities, and networking events, empowering women with knowledge, skills, and connections they need to succeed in the mining sector. Our mentorship program is expanding and enlarging, and we are so excited to share this with you. We have some professors who have committed to this now. We have some people from the industry sector who are retired, but who still have energy, who are committed to this. So I will just whet your appetite, but won't give you the details, but watch out for that. We are determined to make sure we develop the next generation of young men and women, you understand, who will equally partake in the industry. We don't want to be watchers. We don't want to be people whose resources are being plundered and they don't even have a say in it. So Africa must take charge of Africa. And so to be able to do that, the needed skills must be provided. Our vision and mission. Our vision is empowering women, transforming the industry to respect the rights of all. Our mission is to foster a supportive community that inspires innovation, sustainability, and excellence, driving positive change for women and the mining sector as a whole. Some notable projects we've done in the past, if you go to our website, that's www.wimng.org, you will see quite a number of the activities we've embarked on in time past. Gender mainstreaming, we promote gender justice in the solid mineral sector. The solid mineral sector is equivalent to what you call Ministry of Mines and Steel of other countries. Through research, capacity building for women artisanal miners, policy dialogues, over 1,000 women have been empowered through this initiative. Our Girls for Mining project is so dear to me, so dear to me. This was born out of one of our projects when we did the gender mainstreaming with Ford and Osiwa, now called OSF, Open Society Foundation. We found out that, yes, we were asked to mainstream women, but most of the women were not educated, or they didn't have what it takes, the kind of energy, the kind of zeal, and then they have been so pressurized by cultural norms and things like that, that we believe that for us to have girls of the future in the mines, we need to develop young girls, to make sure that young girls' interests are stimulated to come into the mining sector. So we quickly created what we call Girls for Mining in 2022. And I tell you that that's aspect of our NGO is growing seriously. We have so many young girls now who tell you that, thank God we are introduced to this thing. We have a knowledge. And when we say girls for mining, that is, they should embrace them. They should not be afraid of mathematics. They should not be afraid of physics. They should not be afraid of engineering. These days you have doctors, you have economists, you have lawyers who work in the mining sector. So the most important thing is for you to embrace, just don't be scared of the word mining, because in time past, when you hear mining, they say, what are you doing in the mining sector? That's the response you get, but that is not true. Anybody can be in the mining sector. Then we have another project we call Mines to Mind. Minds to Mind is addressing child labor. We take the children away from the mines. And this we started when we went to Ebony Institute during one of our advocacy projects. And we saw this little boy, you understand, who was working in the mine, carrying materials and all covered in dust and all that. And we said, what are you doing? Of course, he's an orphan. He couldn't go to school. And how much does he earn in the day? So we made sure we start ensuring that such children go back to school. We canvas for them. And then we have our flagship project. And watch out, another one is happening December this year. If you want to enjoy the Dirty December in Nigeria, make sure that DETY is a very beautiful program where the social life, the marketing business, everything is enhanced in Nigeria. Make sure you are there. You understand? So between the 4th to 7th of December, we'll be having another GGC, our 4th GGCE conference. The GGCE is an annual event where we try to showcase the potentials of women in mining, especially value addition across the continent. Last year, we were privileged. Sponsored 52 women, 52 different women and men to be part of that conference, and sponsored by EcoBank Nigeria. We had it in that beautiful EcoBank setting, and it was a very impactful event. So we look forward to all of you joining us this year. If you have anything to showcase, if you are invited as a speaker, it's a good place to be. And I'm happy that one of the chairman that coordinates that event I've seen her that she has joined the line already. That's Barrister Dan Princeville. Then the 46th edition. This is the 46th edition of this training. We have our training every third Thursday of the month. So another third Thursday is so rigid that we don't change it. It's as constant as the Northern Star. So you can mark your calendar for every Thursday at 4 p.m. West African time. You will always engage with us, coming up with different people, different perspectives, understand, to get educated. Women in Mining Training Institute is a training wing of Women in Mining Nigeria. It was initiated to provide a broad range of knowledge and education on the salient issues in the mining sector, especially those bordering on mining businesses and economics, methods and practices, gender, justice, poverty, and sustainability. And today's zone is today, you understand, it comes up every third Thursday of every month. And then you can join us live, Zoom, YouTube. So whichever one, technology had made life easy. So get involved. You can get involved to be a member. You can get involved as a donor, as a partner, and you can donate because there are numerous things to do. You understand that when you donate, you have the opportunity to track precisely what you have, what you are funding. You can even fund it directly, you understand, managing everything, and we just guiding you to guide you to where to, what to do. Like we are looking for people now to support our women in Kiana. We went there for the SGBP project, that's gender-based violence. And in the course of doing that, we find out that women who are equipped, women who are financially strong, don't hardly get entangled with issue of rape and things like that, because the weakness, the economic weakness or financial weakness equally contribute to it. So we looked at their low-hanging fruit, that what can they do, what can we get them engaged in? So we looked at that they have abundance of salt, you understand, with historical background and everything in that area. So we decided to start the salt project. So you can get involved, you understand. Kiana is in Nasarawa State. You can Google and read about it. It's an interesting project, and it would be nice to have some of us, you understand, come and support these women for real organic salt, especially in an age where people are talking about all manner of salt that causes cancer. Thank you. So today, we'll be meeting our great speakers. So can you please put up thank you, and can we have the profile of our speakers? Today we have wonderful speakers we have brought in together. Engineer Elizabeth Rogo. Her profile is so intimidating that I just have an abridged version, because if we bring out everything, I tell you, some of us will look at ourselves and say, do we have to go to school again or change our courses or start doing something? So let me just read an abridged version of her CV. And Madam, I want to really appreciate you for even still coming. As we speak, she's bereaved, but she insisted she has to join and that she will participate today. So we appreciate you, ma'am. Thank you. Elizabeth Rogo is the founder and CEO of Tasvo Oil Services, a boutique technical consultancy firm serving the oil and gas, geothermal, power, and wind sectors since 2017 in Nairobi, Kenya. With over 24 years of experience in the energy sector, she has a strong background in engineering, management, and international business development. She has held key positions at major oilfield service companies, including BJ Services, Baker Hughes, and Westervolt International. Elizabeth is a longtime member of the Society of Petroleum Engineers. I'm sure Professor Ako is here too, and was Kenya's first chair of Nairobi chapter. She actively mentors students and young professionals, many of whom have advanced their studies abroad or secured employment in the energy sector. She has extensive expertise in petroleum services, particularly hydraulic fracturing, and has worked in the US, Africa, and Europe. In 2015, she became Weatherford's first female country manager in Sub-Saharan Africa and was later promoted to regional head for East Africa. He holds degrees in biological engineering and science from Dalhousie University and Mount St. Vincent University in Canada. A recognized leader in energy, she serves on advisory boards, advocates for diversity, equality, and inclusivity, and is a sought-after speaker in Global Energy Forum. Madam, we welcome you. We are excited, and I'm clapping for you physically from here. So we look forward to your speaking to us today and sharing your experiences with us. So I will give you the opportunity to share your slide while you speak to us directly. Thank you again. So I'm making you co-host.
Right.
So you can, okay. So you can share your slide.
I will do that. Thank you. First of all, thank you very much, Engineer Janet. It's always a pleasure meeting a fellow engineer. I get very excited. Woman engineer, I must say. And also, I'd like to thank everyone, my fellow speakers and all the participants. And I will go straight into my presentation. You did a good job with the brief, so I hope I'm not repeating too many things. Okay, just one moment. All right. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we do.
All right. So the topic today, or my topic today that you gave me, is the role of mentors in closing the gender gap in the extractive industry. This picture that I have here actually has a meaning, and it comes off my website. And it's a program that the Canadian group started around 2020, called Equal by 30. Basically, what it's looking at is equal leadership, equal opportunity, equal pay for women by 2020. So I was one of the first small, I would say, first woman-founded company that from Africa that signed on to this particular program. And this really, I would say, really pushed me into this area of, women, looking at gender, because you will see from when I do my presentation, I started off in Canada and the US. And to be very honest, when I worked there, all these issues of women wasn't really there. It wasn't something that we spoke about. It was really about what it is that you were able to do as a field engineer as you worked your way up the corporate ladder. But anyway, let's just move on. So my discussion topics are four. I'm going to define what is a mentor and what mentoring actually means and the responsibilities. I will also ask the question of why is there a gender gap in the extractive industry? I'll give an answer. That's mainly from the mining sector, but it applies to everyone else. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about my journey, and you've kind of summarized it. I think it's always nice when you put yourself forward so that everyone can see it's not just a textbook figure, but a real figure. And I will close on how do we close the gender gap. I don't know why this is not moving. So mentoring and responsibility. So a mentor provides guidance, support, and mentors are always known to be people who have experience and expertise in particular fields, as well as sharing their insights that can help their mentees grow. Mentors provide valuable feedback, help set goals, and provide encouragement throughout the mentee's journey. And I think also what's important to note is that the mentorship can be a powerful tool for career development and personal growth. I just want to give you some stats that I wasn't able to put in my presentation due to time. If we look at the energy sector, and this is mainly coming from McKinsey and obviously is more US based, 24% of the total workforce is made up of women in energy. And of that, 19%, only 19% of energy leadership positions are held by women in the energy sector. As I grew in my career, this figure became a real problem for me. Working with the companies that you have mentioned, I wondered as I was climbing up in the corporate world, how far could I make it as myself? What were the constraints that I was facing, not only as a woman, but as an African woman, as an international woman in a space that was predominantly white and male? The other thing I'd like to point out, or the other point I'd like to also just discuss quickly is, why is there a gender gap? The extractive industry often exhibits a gender gap because of historical and persistent inequalities. And we know for a fact, this is where men tend to benefit much more. And there are many, many papers that address this situation of why we're seeing this and why women actually face more higher risk and bear the brunt of social and economic impacts. So I thought this was a really good quote that I found from a mining document that asks, how does gender bias affect the mining industry, since we're in a mining forum? So the lack of women on the mines also creates a living and working environment that is heavily male dominated. The gender imbalance on the mines makes it difficult to develop a genuine mining community. This has a wide range of social consequences that are negative for both men and women. When I look at my experience, I started off as a field engineer in Texas. I came out of Canada. I'm Kenyan by nationality. I was the only woman. Not only was I the only woman, I was the only Black woman or African woman. And at first, I didn't understand some of the issues that I was facing. I really didn't understand some of the biases because I never grew up in that sort of environment. But as I progressed, these biases affected me. And I'll give you an example. I faced quite a bit of racism again, from my male American colleagues. And I had to find a way by myself. I had nobody to speak to. I had to find a way of how am I able to work in an environment that looks at my color first, listens to my accent, wonders where my degree is from, and whether I can frack somebody's wells. So I used to go out on as lead engineer on many, many jobs. And I did encounter some customers who would flatly refuse for me to come and fracture their wells. They would call my manager and say, please, can we have an American come in and do this well? We don't know where she's from. We don't know if she understands, what she's doing. So internally, I had to be able to find a way to counter such biases. And it was very, very difficult, very, very difficult. But I think a lot of it stemmed from my background, from where I came from. I grew up with a very, very strong mother. And I was able to, tie into that and be able to show them that as long as they valued my work, I didn't care what you thought about me. So it was my work that spoke my value of what I was doing. Oops. I think when people are coming in, sorry. So I'd like to speak a little bit about my journey, and I think you've mentioned it very well, my years in the field within energy, where I'm educated, and also it's important, my internships, because that's really what got me into the petroleum or the oil and gas sector, because I always thought I was going to go more into the environmental. So SNC-Lavalin in Canada, Nova Scotia, Canada, as well as the Nova Scotia Petroleum Directorate. This Nova Scotia Petroleum Directorate was actually very, very important because I met a few bosses or a few people who became my bosses who saw something in me and encouraged me to go the path of the the oil and gas sector. And I'll never forget what they did. And let me give you an example. One of them had me go to Houston. I'd never been to Houston at that time. I was coming from Canada. And I stayed there for a week and I did a paper looking at the chemical plants, because we were looking at building chemical plants off the Nova Scotia, off Nova Scotia. Now you can imagine, I'm a Kenyan, not Canadian. People were very irritated. Who's this foreign student coming in and being given tasks that a Canadian could do? But that's where engineer Janet, as you said, that's where luck comes in. And it was during that particular work that I did, this is what opened my eyes to the oil and gas industry, hence why I ended up moving to Houston. So when I moved to Houston, just a little story, I worked for about 7 months in the what do you call it? The NASA in Houston, there at Clear Lake. So I thought I was going to end up working more with NASA, but long story short, because I wasn't an American citizen, I wasn't able to do it. So I ended up back in the oil and gas sector, and BJ Services is where I started. I started as a field engineer, then worked my way up, with international work, working for Baker Hughes as well as Weatherford International. And I'll go a little bit on what it is that I did. So within my US experience, as I said, I was mainly in engineering, working mainly on onshore Texas, Louisiana, and offshore Gulf of Mexico. I began my international experience as a region engineer based in Aberdeen, Scotland, where I was serving both North and West Africa. I'm very, very fortunate that I had the opportunity to do a lot of international work in the countries that I have listed, including my own country, Kenya, where I was working as an expatriate until I decided to start my own company in 2027. So yes, I do have a vast experience, very strong experience in engineering, in sales, in business development. And business development actually became my baby and really what drove me into this company. So in 2017, after I was promoted, and I think everyone who understands the oil and gas at that time and what was happening in the world globally, my company, that is Weatherford, decided to move me back to the US to continue my work. And this is where I decided to take a leap of faith. I looked at myself and I said, if they can see value in me, if I'm able to run, multi-million projects, and I'm sitting here in Kenya that was just becoming, it's still a nascent oil and gas, country, but it was just on the cusp of, it had just made the discovery in oil from tallow oil. We looked at Uganda. Uganda had made some big discoveries, 6 billion barrels of oil. And I think if you know about Uganda, you know where they are. They're actually now developing their resource. But I said, you know what, if I'm going back to the States where all this knowledge comes from, what am I doing as an African woman? What is it that I can do if I stayed behind? And the only way I could stay behind, because my company, as I said, wanted to move me back, was to go the entrepreneurship. And to be very honest, this is an area I never, ever, ever imagined that I would do this. But what led me, as I said, was this conviction of what is it that I would do as an African woman. And I'm seeing these young engineers coming up and they're not getting the experience that I was very fortunate to get. But also the fact that I'm working for these major corporations, but I'm not seeing anybody that looks like me in the leadership. You're not seeing a CEO that's looking like me at any of these companies, nor a VP. And I said, well, the only way I can do this is that I have to find a way to sit at that table, and not only sit at the table, then make it happen, make this happen. So this is really how Savo Oilfield Services came about. I was one of the first, I'm told I'm the first, but I'm one of the first woman-founded energy companies in Africa. And this role has really provided me with a unique perspective on the importance of mentors and in particular women leadership within the extractive industry. board positions have also been very, very critical. And my first board that I actually sat on was Kenya Power, KPLC, which is a giant in the East Africa market. And it really, really taught me about how, as a woman, I could have a lot of influence. I could influence management in terms of bringing women in, bringing capable women in, being able to mentor these women in, and being able to progress these women. I'm very proud to say that my group of board members, we brought in the first woman ever. This is a 100-year company, first woman ever CEO. Even though she was acting, we still made history by bringing in a woman that we mentored as board members. Then the rest you can see, I sat on the National Oil Corporation very recently. Until recently, I sit as advisory board member on Fourth Resource. It's a Canadian company that does geothermal drilling and power in Ethiopia, now moving into Kenya. I sit as advisory board member on the Africa Energy Technology Center within Ghana, and I was awarded the Women in Leadership in Energy Leadership Award to 2024. And I'm currently sitting now as the advisory board member for the SPE Africa region. I'm extremely proud. As you said, I'm a long-time member of
Jonathan, I must get to the bottom of this issue. Then how do we sort the issue of my
No, please mute you or something.
And last year, I was also awarded the Africa Regional Director Special Award. And as you can see from that diagram, I'm the only woman in Africa sitting on this SPE award. And I think it's something we should be proud of. In continuing my journey, I started winning being recognized for my leadership, Women Leadership Award. And again, I will tell you, when I started my journey, I really never thought this is an area that I'd be looking into, but I fell into it and I love it. And I'm a big, big proponent of what women are able to do within the energy sector. So I don't want to bore you with all my recent awards, but I think again, let me just pick something up. I mean, I've been hosted in magazines, and I've won the Winning in Women Award, which is out of Nigeria, which I'm very proud of, SIPEC, which is hosted by the Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria. So I think over 60 companies of some tremendously active oil companies. It is such a motivating factor when I'm around these people. And again, most of them are men, but it is what it is. And then lastly, Africa Oil Week. For those of you who know Africa Oil Week, that used to be in South Africa, now is in Ghana. I was part of the 50 most inspirational female energy executives. I do not take this lightly. I realize that what I'm doing, people are watching, and particularly the younger women. So this led me then to create what I call our mentorship program within Savo. And I started this right from the beginning. So my first employees were interns that came in, and I realized I loved teaching people. And they also taught me a lot. They made me more curious. Made me really look at innovative things, things like AI now. We try and do a lot of our stuff within the AI space. And it's just having the strength of the younger people around you has really been inspirational, and it's something that I have carried. I'm also very proud to say that my mentorship program is considered amongst the best. And this is coming from the universities. So I do take a lot of students in, mainly engineering students, as you can see. And I really tailor my program. It's real life. As soon as you get in, I throw you in the deep end. And it has a very strong entrepreneurial slant, because I tell everybody, even if you work for a corporation, whatever work that you're given, you must think as a boss. You must think as an owner. I think that then that makes you think at a different level from just being an employee. So this is something that I instill in the young ones, and particularly for the ladies, for the young ladies. I teach them to understand that we have our own unconscious bias as women. You know, we're told to dampen down on our abilities. And I really try and extract the best of who they are. Okay, they may not be as loud, maybe a loud person, but you know, whatever their strengths are, I try and extract that and show them how they can move within this energy space, you know, called, you know, this space that we call energy. So lastly, as I said, I'm also very proud that many of my Salvarites, as I call them, have gone on to graduate school or working for tier one energy companies. And a few of them, or a number of them have actually received prestigious awards and fellowships such as UNESCO. And a lot of them say it's the work that I've done with them, not just the technical work, because I say that's university, but teaching them the real life skills and teaching them to think outside the box and giving them very, very challenging assignments and really pulling them and making them somebody that you know, that knows what they're doing, that can face an audience. So this particular photo that I have here, I love this picture because these are the two young men that I started with, and this was in 2017. They were in their fourth year, and in December 2018, the dean of the program on the right-hand side invited me as their special guest. This program, it was and is the only petroleum and natural gas program that we have in Kenya. And it is now used. I hear even Nigerian students are coming to Kenya for this program. And we have a lot of Nigerian professors who are part of the you know, faculty. So the fourth topic, how do we close this gender gap? And I will not say that these are, you know, I didn't put this together, but I think a lot of it really resonates with what it is that you're doing. So there are 4 points: promoting women's participation and representation. And I think we'll be speaking about empowering women in leadership. I'm very, very big on promoting women's business ownership. And I think one of my speakers is going to be talking, you know, about businesses and financing and all that. So I think this is really important, that we should be teaching our young women that they can run businesses, they can go and create their own businesses. Also looking at ensuring equitable access to benefits and resources, gender sensitive communicating engagement, and also promoting gender responsive resource governance. Number 3, address gender specific challenges. I highlighted this limited access to finance and resources. And you'd think that somebody like me who's been in the business and with my background that I have, that this is an area that I have, I can navigate by easily. No, it is still an area. I have fights with my bank managers and everything. And I think there's still a lot of unconscious biases as to, you're a woman, you're doing things like right now I'm manufacturing very critical valves for one of our largest, in fact, it's the largest geothermal plant in Africa. So I am doing that. And you can imagine people are looking at who's Sava, who's this woman that's doing very technical work. Then you have these gender stereotypes and biases. I think this particular event and many events that are promoting a women's right and the importance of gender equality in the extractive sector is something that we must continue banging on that door. It's really important. Lastly, collaboration and partnerships. I dream the stuff. My company is based on collaborating with companies. And let me tell you, ladies, when I sit at a table with these men, I am at the same, I look them in the eye, eyeball to eyeball. There's no woman here. It's, I bring my knowledge to the table, I bring my respect, and I demand the same from them. So with anything else, with anything that we do, I think it's important that we monitor and evaluate, because unless you monitor, you never know whether you're making any progress. And that is the end of my short presentation. Sorry, I don't know why. Yeah. And if anybody wants to contact me, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on WhatsApp, on anything. Please feel free to reach out. I think it's always a joy to speak and listen to other women and see what their experiences are as well. Thank you for this opportunity, Engineer Janet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, thank you. Like I said, I did not get it wrong. I always get it right, and I'm grateful to God for that, for whoever cares. One thing I want to say, because Elizabeth will be leaving us soon, like I apologized earlier that she's traveling. She's bereaved and she's going for a burial. You can see her already in her black. Number one, may God Almighty comfort you. I respect you. I respect your commitment for even still showing up. However, I will just quickly give a summary. Please stay behind to hear this. I'll quickly give a summary of some of the things she said, which has been my principle in life. And especially for the young ones here, listen to it. Merit opens the door for anything. When you come to a table, don't come with the toga of wearing the hat of I'm a woman. I'm a woman. And I always tell people got it wrong when we said women in mining. We were fighting cultural biases, not knowledge biases. When I was in the House of Representatives in Nigeria, some people came and said, let us lower this quota, the standard level for entry of women into medical school. I fought against it vehemently because I said it will create a problem in future. You see a female medical doctor, you'll be scared of going to her because maybe she's a butcher. You understand? So qualification, merit, education, knowledge is very important. You're going for a meeting, and I want to use this opportunity to pay homage to my foundation, Professor B.D. Ako. I write my projects. This man will just carry my project and tear it into shreds and say, nonsense, go and write another one. Tear it into shreds, go and write another one. My foundation was solid academically. That was a man who ensured, you understand, that what you have as mark is what you have. There's no emotional connection to your scores. And so women, because very easily these days, especially what is trending in Nigeria, you find women, oh, she's a woman, and you find men deceiving you. We rush to the streets for everything to make sure that we are, campaigning for everything. This has to be, no, it is not like that. The world is not like that. For any woman to be respected, she said she forgets about being a woman when she comes to the table. She comes to the table with her knowledge, and she comes to the table with her respect. You are coming to a meeting and half of your body is exposed. How do you think anybody will take you? The addresses for different locations. Because we are talking about mentoring, we must break it down. So don't come to the table chewing gum like a mad woman, like somebody who has been, somebody who has been going through hunger, who has been caged and without food for days. You understand? Come to table with full dignity. And I tell you, men will be your greatest supporter. So because when we talk about these things, men voted for me and took, in fact, women were extremely petty and we should throw that away. The moment I saw her, I said, please take me under your shade. Take me under what it took you to build this. It's not a function of age. You see somebody doing something good, the next thing is that you want to pull down that person. You want to go and do exactly the same thing, destroying even what somebody has done. So the ability to mentor is no longer there. You understand? If you must learn, if you want to be mentored, you must put yourself in a position that will allow the mentoring to develop. You don't get mentored by castigating or destroying anybody. Because she talked about her strong background, and I know what it can be for a woman, a black woman, you understand, from South Africa, from Kenya, to come to Africa, to come to Europe. Even right now, people still condemn our accents and ask you, what? But because I'm confident, I tell you, listen to me. My mouth is wide when I talk. Yours is narrow when you talk. So listen to me. I joke back to them because I have my confidence. I know what I want to say. I'm speaking what they want to hear. So her background, her mother instilled that into her. Confidence. Confidence is an asset. A woman needs confidence. A man needs confidence to unlock the door. You are talking and you are shivering, you are trembling, and you are this because number one, you probably don't have the confidence, and then you lack the content. They go hand in hand. Then she talked about her relationship with her bosses. The boss that sent her to Texas opened the opportunity for her. How are you treating your bosses? Are you there to blackmail your boss? Are you there for any little thing, and then the men are literally running away from you now because of the stories you will concoct? We have seen students who formulated stories around their lecturers just to indict their lecturers or nothing. If you say your lecturers, you understand, engage with you in a moral situation, what did you do to put yourself in that precarious situation? So these are things we have to watch out for. Then she talked about her strong belief in herself. You must have a strong belief in yourself. Then God Almighty, luck, destiny, they come into it. That was somebody that was sent to NASA. You understand? But her rejection, her maybe the hostility or whatever, she, when you refuse to take no for your answer, having a firm belief in yourself, you will always have a way. There will always be a plan B that will become a plan A. So, and that is what I think she has told us. Then, everywhere you find yourself, I think I want to link that to a biblical principle. You say, think as an owner. Because God tells us, he said, whatever you find doing, do it as if you are doing it unto God. Some of us, you are in an association, you are there to destroy the association. Some of you, you are in a workplace, you are there to destroy the workplace because, oh, this is not my association, this is not my workplace. I cannot contribute, I cannot labor for somebody else. Whatever you are doing, you are building up your own future. And then unconscious bias. You will always see that unconscious bias everywhere you go, and even you yourself, but you work on it. We all work on ourselves. See, when I'm talking before, I used to do I consciously worked on it, especially going to the parliament as a legislator. And if you look at my debates in National Assembly, you won't see that I worked on it. You know, we all have one thing or the other. Nobody is perfect. And when you find somebody who knows better than you, or somebody who knows the way, honestly endear yourself to that person so that you can get whatever you want easily. So, my darling sister, I told you in the secret, and I'm telling you in the open. You are my sister. You understand? And there are certain relationships you are going to build with you as an organization. You understand? I love what I've read. I've loved what I've researched about you beyond what you think I know. The professor who spoke about you here to me and everything right here in Texas where you were, you understand? So I appreciate you. We thank you so much. I'll just give just two people to ask questions before Elizabeth goes off. So if you want to ask a question, indicate. I will just call two persons to talk. You understand? Before she leaves us. Anybody wants to ask a question, any confident person around mentoring. If you have any question to ask, signify by raising your hands, and if not, we release her to go. Yes, Fola Kemi, yes.
Good evening, man. Good evening. Very, very, very inspiring presentation. My question to engineer is, can she have like a small handbook that can help people who wants to mentor other people? Something that would be a guide, like a blueprint.
Can you unmute, ma? Can you unmute?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, hi, Fola Kemi.
Yes.
I hadn't thought about that, but obviously I must be saying something right, and it'll be something I could look into. So why don't we talk offline? And I'd be happy to know what, from your end, what you're looking for. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Incidentally, Fola Kemi is a former ambassador to Philippines and a strong member of Women in Mining. She's in charge of our partnership and collaboration. So thank you, Fola Kemi, for that question. It's like you are reading my mind. So Patrick, yeah. Patrick, yeah.
What a blockbuster presentation. Awesome experience. We always believe that our women can, and they are shooting from the highest level. I so much love the presentation. Being somebody that is critically strong in oil and gas, of course, I wish I'm a woman at this time so I can have a more advantage to my question. But ma'am, we are mining miners of barite. Barite is used in oil and gas sector, and you've been very prolific in that sector. Do you have any market for barite? Can we collaborate on barite? Can we partner on barite? In bringing a lot of barite miners in Nigeria are really struggling. It's an area where I think that if you have any proficiency, any advantage, can we be able to leverage on it? Thank you.
All right. Yeah, let me put my WhatsApp number and you can contact me there. And anyone else who'd like to talk to me, no problem, Patrick. I'm just putting in the chat right now.
Thank you very much.
I like collaboration, so bring it on.
Patrick, I can tell you that you will get it because the board she is in, you understand, we make sure that is done. You understand? So, hey, the hands are coming up. Please, we have to release her and go to the other session.
Okay, don't worry.
Oluwaseun, I will just take that last person, please. And then Professor Ako, please, I will want you to talk to, because I'm sure you are so excited seeing a younger version of you in a woman. So I will want you to talk too. Yeah. Oluwaseun Fatoye, yes.
Thank you, ma. Thank you for this platform. I want to ask, do you collaborate with private universities, for example, for mentorship?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Can you collaborate for mentorship?
Okay. Engineer, I still had difficulties. Is it for young people?
Yes, for undergraduate.
Undergraduate. Yes,
yeah.
yes, I do.
Students.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, one of the things I mentioned when I was at SciPec, what are we now, in February of this year, was that I'd like to see cross mentorship amongst universities and graduates. And I've already spoken to Kenyatta University, and I'm happy to hear that graduate students are being mentored, and some are coming into Kenya, and I'm trying to see under SPE how much more we can do. So Olu, can you send me a message? My WhatsApp is there, and we can talk.
All right, thank you, ma.
Professor Bidiako, that's the last, please. Please put down your hands. Patrick, Professor Bidiako, can you
thank you, everybody.
Appreciate this wonderful lady. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. It was a fantastic lecture or talk, whatever way we want to put it. In listening, I looked at myself. There's opportunity, there's reaction to being trained. You may want to be trained and nobody to train you. You may have a trainer, no response from the trainee. I was fortunate as a young geologist in the geological survey. I was virtually the only geophysicist working in the field. So I had the experience, both aero and ground surveys in all aspects of geophysics. I took that with me to the university. In the university as an undergraduate, I had another mentor, Professor O.S. Adegoke. I joined him, Department of Geology at Ife. And of course, I had no recourse but to follow the path I had been trained to follow. Hardworking, ensure discipline at all levels, listen, guide, teach, and then we had a very viable consultancy services, which gave us the opportunity to give our students at that time on-hand training, field training, data acquisition, data processing, data interpretation, report writing, and presentation. Those are the issues that come in hand. Again, I was fortunate to be a professor, chair professor of geophysics, which enabled me interact internationally and have hands-on softwares for the oil industry training. And this gave IFE an advantage. So also my interaction with the Federal University of Technology, Akure. So I agree with her totally. If you are well trained, I repeat, if you are well trained, you will be confident to enter into any place and do what you've been taught to do, irrespective of your color. I agree absolutely with her. No Black person is respected until he's out there proving him or herself that is as well trained or better trained than your white colleague. Thank you, madam, for your talk.
Thank you.
I
Thank you, sir.
appreciate you so greatly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much. We now go to the next speaker. So I'll chat with you after, give you a call after. So let me allow you go to your destination. Yeah. So our next speaker is Emma Kakawa, because the last presenters are really taking charge themselves based on the very insightful. So I want you to wait for that particular one, procurement. So Emma Kakawa, I hope she's ready. Can you put Emma Kakawa's profile on? That's another, we don't come with just any woman. You understand? We bring in people who impact your life, who you have one thing or the other to gain from. So please, can you display Emma Kakawa's profile on the screen? MS Emma Kakawa is a dynamic leader entrepreneur dedicated to driving economic empowerment and financial inclusion in Tanzania. As a founder and CEO of Entago Investments Limited, she has established herself as a key player in business development, investment, and strategic advisory services. Through her leadership, Entago Investment fosters growth opportunities for enterprises, particularly those led by women and youth. In addition to her business ventures, MS Kakawa is a champion for women in leadership. She is the founder and CEOs of CEOs Roundtable Tanzania, a platform that brings together female executives and entrepreneurs to share knowledge, build networks, and advocate for gender equity in corporate and business sectors. Her work in this space has been instrumental in promoting mentorship and collaboration among women leaders. Emma Kakawa also serves as the country director for New Faces, New Voices, an organization focused on enhancing women's access to finance and economic opportunities. In this role, she spearheads initiatives that support financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and policy advocacy for gender-inclusive finance. Her dedication to economic transformation, women's leadership, and inclusive financial systems make MS Kakawa a respected and influential figure in Tanzania's business and development landscape. So can you give Madam Kakawa, can we give her let me make her a co-host so that do you want us to share or you want to share your presentation? I think it's better you share your presentation, your slides. So you want to share or you want them to share for you?
You can share it, it's okay.
Okay, so Bailumi, you can share her slides. So you are welcome, sweethearts, and we look forward to having the best of you today. I've listened to quite a number of your podcasts, and I'm impressed too. So we wish you all the best, and the boundary walls are breaking. And so people will be wondering, oh no, you have to see what is happening in other climes. You understand? The boundaries are breaking, so we must make sure we learn and see what is happening. And this is Women's Month. So not strictly censor mining or anything, but let's get ideas on what drives businesses. Thank you again, and we wish you all the best. So you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Janet. Thank you very much. The previous speaker, you really inspired me too. Learning is a journey. It's not something we do it, we just say it's over. We're learning from others too. So that sharing of knowledge was very, very impactful to me. You made my day today, Elizabeth. All in all, I'm speaking from Tanzania, Dar es Salaam. We are 2 hours ahead. As I speak, I'm happy to join other fellow women in Africa, in the global space, who in different sectors. I say good day to all participants. Ladies, I'm truly honored to be here in such a powerful and inspiring group of women, where we share our knowledge, we inspire others, and learn. And our aim is not only to listen, but to engage and have a fruitful, impactful meeting. 2025, this year of International Women's Day, I'm honored to be in this platform to speak to the ladies around here. And as I speak, I play multiple tasks. I did international relations, that is purely diplomacy, in Egypt, in Tanzania, and other countries. Later on, I did marketing. Then on and all to be employed in the government of Tanzania as an investment officer. I was one of the founders of Tanzania Investment Center. I believe you have one in Nigeria, the Nigeria Investment Authority, or each country has its own. I'm a founder of that in Tanzania. And then later on, I went to the field of tourism. So you see how I've been switching off from left to right. And now I'm here doing the leadership. I have a passion with I'm talking about my personal profile yet. I have a passion on mining, thinking of how we can navigate and put more efforts on value addition in mining. We are selling gemstones, we are selling gold, we are selling all the minerals, but we're not wearing them also. This is something I'm looking at. When do we think about not only selling, even to appreciate what we have and start putting on and stop wearing the plastics, stop wearing the imitated jewelry and all this. This is something I'm looking at us women to pioneer on that. Because once we start wearing, the market will be huge. We are many women. We are almost 60% in Africa. I believe if all start taking the valuable jewels and valuable gemstones, we'll be having the market for the women who are doing mining. As we go through the topic I was given today, is about the gain of unity to foster accelerated growth. How can we have growth or economic growth or women leverage their businesses? This can only be done in three. Can you move it up? Three.
Can you move the slides, please? Or
Yes.
you? Yeah, that's okay.
Three stages. One, when we have big numbers. You can't move alone. We need networks, we need groups, we need networks, we need organizations, we need women working together, networking, collaborating, and move as a team in order to be successful. This comes through what? You can have a network, but if you don't do mentorship, you don't speak the same language, you don't have the same characters, you don't have the same caliber of mindset, we don't have all the keys and tools of working together. You're nobody. So this is the first thing. We need to foster our networks and strength and have a bigger number. We don't want to have numbers of 1 and 10. We need to have millions and hundreds and 10 and 30 in a network doing one good work in a professional way. Then I come back next, collective empowerment. When you say collective empowerment, the voice of women is very loud in the politics. The voice of women is very loud when you do elections. The voice of women is very loud when you're doing our celebrations. But do we celebrate our businesses? We need to put more voice on that. We should be heard more on that. Either it is in mining, whether it is in oil and gas, whether it is in food, agriculture, or whatever sector you're in. We need to have more voices of women talking about how we can be empowered. And when you have more voices within, I'm not talking about one country, I'm talking when the country is collaborating also. I'm here, Janet invited me. We have met or not met, but we know that we're working together. This separation of boundaries does not limit us not to work together. So this is something that should be in our mindset, transformation of mindset. Like-minded women, fostering, working together, accessing funds from left to right, from north to south, from the country, from their founders in Europe, from the founders in Tanzania, in Africa. We have many founders within our continents, but because we don't share our what we have together, we don't have information. It is becoming very difficult for us. And last, number 3, please. We're talking about how we can engage ourselves. When I say engage, I mean that women know what they want. Women know what they want. Only that because they're separated with traditions, cultures, or with that mindset that I'm more powerful than the other, competing each other, we cannot move. We have a lot of opportunities, but we limited them, but when we start competing to each other. So let's create opportunities together, work together so that we can do big investments. I'm not talking about numbers of hundreds and thousands. We want to hear millions and billions. Why not we don't have each country having billionaires, women running the economy? I know some countries like Nigeria already have passed that, but I'm talking about Africa in general. How many? Those are very few numbers if we calculate from the numbers we have the women in the continent. I would like to see more women billionaires. And how can we make these billionaires? How can we make? That's when I formed the Women CEOs Roundtable. That's when we can talk. How can we pull others? How can we work together? How can we lift others? How can we empower these women? Because some of our women, they can be having very good investments or very good products, but they only need the know-how. And somebody have the know-how, but then doesn't have the people. Some have funding, but they don't see where they can fund. And it's all about how we navigate each other and work together. This is what I always insist. Whenever I do these meetings, I see how women work and meet together and start collaborating. I insist on this because I'm working. I do research. When I do research, I see what is needed. But the biggest problem, our egos. And sometimes we don't want to share. And sometimes we think we are overconfident or less confidence. Because when I say overconfidence and less confidence, is that those who don't know much fear the ones who have already moved ahead. And those who have moved ahead, they have confidence, too much confidence, and they don't pull others and leave others. Let's leave that. Let's try to make others be powerful too. When we have 10 or 20 or 30 in a group, powerful, speaking in a platform like AU, like UN Women, I don't know, like, I don't know, AFCA, the whole country will shake. The whole continent will shake. But if you speak alone, what will happen? So what we teach in the Women's CEOs Roundtable, we only took the leadership skills. That is the ethics and etiquette, how we communicate, because communication is key to anything. If the language you use, the way you present yourself, how you move, we know what is happening to the youth now. And all of us are we can be mothers, we can be sisters, we can be young, but we are now in the trend where it's a mixture of culture. People don't know. The young girls are just navigating with the social media. They don't know what is happening. You see Madam Janet is here. When she was speaking, you see she's speaking like a mother, whether she's having a business, whether she's doing whatever, but there's somewhere you see the feminine part. We are losing that part. This is where I come in with the soft skills. We need to have the feminine taste of a woman, not saying feminine because you're down. No, there's a type we show that this is a woman. Women from dressing, women how you talk, how you present yourself, how clean you are. When she spoke about chewing gum in the presentation, I was really impressed because some do that, and I've seen that. That discourages whatever you're going to talk to the people. So I'm not talking about only the young girls or the older women, but we need to make all of them inclusivity to share knowledge, because those who navigated earlier, they have more experience. Those who are coming up, they have trained, but they need more to have them, the other soft skills, which you don't get them in school, but they get them in the public. Ladies, as we speak, we need to support and celebrate others' women's success. We are here hearing Elizabeth, what she has done, how she navigated. Those are things we need to celebrate. How many women, each of us, celebrate others? How many women mention other women when they're not there? Very rare. Let's start doing that. Let's have in mind that mindset of whenever I go, I want to be like somebody. I want to do this. She's been good. You've been hearing a woman in Kenya. You've been hearing a woman in Libya, maybe, and maybe women in South Africa. Pull them up, mention them up. Don't have a small circle tied to yourself or the people you know only. Maybe she's related, your friend is from school. No. Get women who have contents, who have substance. This is something I always insist to people. I would like to hear women speaking more about content. I see when they're participating in most international meetings. I see when a women, it's not about how we present, how we put our lipstick well. It's about what you carry your head. If you have beauty and the brain, you bring more visibility. But if you go there with beauty, with no brain, it's less to us and it's a loss to us. Last, sharing of knowledge. You know that there's somebody doing there some agricultural business, or is doing packaging, or is doing this for export. She's alone. She needs support. Help her. Or you get an opportunity. Share with somebody. Don't close it all to yourself, and we miss the opportunities. I know we can this is something I've been talking about, the AFCA, the trade treaty. That is very important for us women. There's a lot we can share within the West and the East, the West and the South. There's a lot, but this starts with us. If we don't start the movement, nobody's going to do to us. The country will do, the governments will do the policies. But what are we doing? Are we moving? I see now each government everywhere in Africa is trying to give a nice policy to benefit, incentives for the investors. Are we part of it? Are we doing the same? I think they are running, we are walking. We need to change that. I know if we have like champions doing this, for sure, the next 3 years or 5 years, we'll be having women leaders, not only one from Tanzania or Ethiopia, we're going to have more than that, 20 or 30 within the continent. Now we are getting inspired. We should have more women taking the seats, not only the small seats in the village head. No, we should go for the higher seats. Confidence brings you all to that. And also last, imagine the world is run by women. How it will be. Because women have the substance, they have something, they have feeling, they are mothers. This will change the whole world. Let's commit to unity. Together, there's no limits. Let's try our best, and this is what I speak about within the continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Please, again, I'm clapping for you from here because I know you have always been the blunt one. You know, you just say it as it is. And your experience matter for the snippets you've given today. It's so simple, the power of unity. You understand? In numbers, we say women want to always say we are this number. Number is meaningless if you don't utilize a number. If you don't translate the number to a resource, a major resource base, you don't get anything out of it. And you know, I keep saying something. They say, oh, numbers, oh, we are this number, they will need us. I said, no. AI has defeated the purpose of numbers. So if you think somebody is coming to, when even now men can choose not to marry and can have one robotic wife or whatever. So the truth of it is that until we learn to use our numbers positively, we're going nowhere. Today is all about refueling, rebuilding, rejigging our base. Our base as women, irrespective of the sector you are. Silently where you sit, ask yourself a question based on what Emma has said. Are you a builder or a destroyer? With your tongue, how many people have you built? With your tongue, how many people have you destroyed? What have you said about your fellow human being? Because one thing you don't know is that when you say anything and it's destructive, it falls on that person. And then that person will fall on you. Then you go deeper into the abyss. So today, let us strive to be builders. And how are we builders? By sharing ideas, by sharing knowledge, by sharing incentives, by lifting one another when we are down. You understand? By supporting one another's ideas and incentives. That's what makes us builders. And that's what, when we started women in mining, it was like a joke. It was it was men, Professor Rahman and Professor Akko. You understand who one was going to? Are they really the ones in the front? They only supported us in building. They supported us in coming together. I can't but keep referring to them. And then Emeka Okengu, you understand? But today, some people have profited. That door has opened so much that we have women in ministries, we have women as contract. Even some of us who are advocates forget ourselves about making money in the sector. We even lost because we concentrated so much on advocacy. So please, let us learn to appreciate one another. This is a month of appreciating one another's work. Let us appreciate what our mothers are doing for us, what our sisters are doing for us, what our sisters in government and in governance are doing. We shouldn't be pulling them apart every second, because to be in government, yesterday I was just talking to one of the female commissioners who is my friend, holding a very sensitive portfolio. Because of her firm belief that, see, you cannot take government's money like people take it before. So women are even the one championing, abusing, doing all manner of things. We shouldn't be seen in that space. Women, we should learn to support women. And when we support women, we support our nation. Let us support government. Let us support men. Let us support everybody. What is not good, highlight it, but not necessarily in a derogatory manner. You understand? All this destruction that we do takes us nowhere. She talked about the roundtable meeting. I always believe in cross-fertilization of ideas. You understand? Even within a sector, people with divergent things can come together in the open and discuss and build it up. You understand? That's the beauty of life. As we speak today, some women, if you look at it, the pictures are here, beautiful pictures, seated there on the table, championing the cause of women in the mining sector. That's our women members. You understand? I can see the past president, the current president, and Ambassador Regina representing women in mining Nigeria. They are there advocating for good governance. And Monica Gigwinki. They are all there advocating. It's not about them. It's about all of us collectively. Let us all work for a good space, a good sector. And I like Patrick. Patrick is always coming in, to put that dimension. And you can see that when a man is persistent in his ways, convinced about what he's doing, he will find solution. Solution will come because he puts it out there consistently on a consistent basis. And surely solution will come. So I want to, because I know Emma too is going, so I told you this is the month. Everybody is moving before we come to the start topic on procurement. So I want to, if you have two, we can just take only 2 persons. If you have questions you want to ask Emma, you need clarification on some things she has said, you have the right to put up your hands, and then we quickly ask before we let her go. Any question? Is anybody putting up any question? Okay, they're all advisory things you've told us.
Yes,
okay.
there's advisory. I think it's more of advisory. And just to thank her, it's really amazing because this is what our own president, Engineer Adeyemi, has been talking about: collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. And I'm happy to learn that Tanzania is ready for collaboration because our own president, Engineer Adeyemi, too, is ready for collaboration. So this is our month, and we move. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Emma. We are grateful. And on this note, I will bring in our final speakers for the day. They will be, I will just introduce them and then they will take the stage as moderator and presenter. That's Astrid Atfes and Dr. Katinka. They are both from Netherlands and they are procurement specialists working already in Botswana. And we look forward to collaborating with them to open up the Nigerian space for them, such that the things they know how to do best, we can see a way of working together in Nigeria. So I'll just quickly read their profiles. Astrid Affes is a dedicated advocate. I hope I pronounce it very well because I know the Dutch are silent on vowels. Is it Astrid Affes? Did I get it right?
Astrid Affes. It's a kind of
Affes, so I'm correct. So Astrid Affes is a dedicated advocate for women's rights and gender equality with a career spanning multiple continents and sectors. She holds a law degree from the University of Amsterdam and Manchester University and began her impactful work in 1994 as the director of the gender department in Lekaiho, a leading human rights organization in Cambodia. She later led a nationwide study on microcredit for women with UNDP and Cambodia's Ministry of Finance, promoting economic empowerment for women in underserved communities. Her global advocacy continued in Washington, D.C., where she worked with Women Law and Development International and contributed to a UN report on violence against women. She later focused on poverty reduction in China and Mongolia while working with the Dutch embassy. In 2002, she joined Mama Cash, the world's first international women's fund, strengthening grassroots women organizations. In 2007, Astrid founded Women Win, a global fund advancing girls' and women's rights, and remains its board chair. She also launched downtown offices in 2006, and She Supplies in 2020 to support women entrepreneurs and inclusive supply chains. Her lifelong commitment to gender equality and social change continues to drive impactful, innovative, and initiatives worldwide. You are welcome. Let me quickly read Dr. Katinka's profile, then we will hand over to you, the two of you. Dr. Katinka C. Kranebo is a seasoned expert in driving positive social impact through business. Her PhD dissertation, Money or Ethics, explored the societal benefits of stakeholder model that prioritizes society over the company itself. Throughout her career, Dr. Van Krenenburg has worked with NGOs, multinational corporations, and multilateral organizations, gaining a wealth of experience in advancing ethical business practices. As a founder of Community Wisdom Partners, a consultancy focused on social performance, she now brings her expertise to She Supplies, where she is dedicated to fostering a more gender-balanced business environment with a particular focus on the energy sector. We are happy to have you, and Women in Mining incidentally looks forward to really collaborating and working with you. Like you have heard, it's a society that opens its door, yeah, to all forms of collaboration. So I will just okay, it's like you've been made no, okay, you've been made a host. So is Katinka a host too? Or I still have to make her a host? Let me go to, okay, Katinka, let me see.
That's fine. That's fine. Don't
Okay,
worry.
okay, so that's okay.
Astrid will be
Okay.
sharing the slides, and I will be watching the chat.
Okay, thank you. So then please, before you go on, they need the feedback. So as much as possible, put every information or anything you want on the chat. They need it, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Chair Janet Adeyemi, the organizers, our fellow speakers, Elizabeth Rogo. I think, well, I would like a mentor such as you. And Emma Kawama, thank you also so much for stressing not only women to work together, but also to be it more about content. And that is definitely what we are here today for, to try to share a lot of what we have been learning, not only over recent years, but also in recent period when we have been doing a project in Botswana. And it is all about accelerating gender equality through procurement in the mining sector. So not necessarily only specific on Nigeria, but on the mining sector. And I think Nigeria can learn from it if you are open to it. And yes, every country is different, but nevertheless, we feel there are a lot of practices that would be useful for any country around the world. So to give you a bit of a context, so to give you a bit of a context, She Supplies is actually the organization that supports all type of organizations, mining companies or energy companies, but also NGOs, international institutions or donor funding organizations, as well as governmental organizations and agencies, to enhance supplier diversity and gender equality in the supply chain specifically. But outside of the energy sector, we have also got experience in the textile and the food and beverage sectors. So the whole approach of She Supplies is to actually build awareness and capacity of organizations, and we do so by doing research, by doing policy development, by doing stakeholder engagement, capacity building, and diversity and inclusion strategies. To give you an example, just since 2020, we have been working with, well, as part of Community Wisdom Partners also, to create policy in the United Arab Emirates that is now in the oil and gas sector, the social risk management standard for the whole sector. So that gives us a lot of leverage actually with governments, but also with businesses to actually work together to create social standards. And in this particular instance, on gender responsive procurement. So let us start with gender responsive procurement. And I think when you read that term, you might already have some view of what could that be. Because for some people it is already known, but I guess for most people it might also be something new. So I would like to invite all the participants to just type in the chat. What do you think of when you think of gender responsive procurement? And there's no right and wrong here. It's just really also to understand where you, as a participant of this session, are at Anybody? I read opportunity for all. Yes, I don't know if that's so. Yes, gender responsive procurement is an opportunity for all. Anybody else? What do you think of when we are talking about this topic?
Provide intentional
Fairness.
intentional policies for women to participate.
Okay, I don't see that. I don't know
I'm
why.
writing it. I'm writing it.
Oh,
Policies.
you're writing it. Okay.
Policies
So, yes,
for
I see
women.
somebody else saying the term is in line with equal opportunity employment policies and transformation in the workplace. Yes, it is about being fair. Gender responsive procurement must provide intentional policies for women. Correct, correct. Somebody says to ensure that procurement is not only male dominated but open to both genders. Gender responsive measure is an environment available for one to readily participate and inclusivity. Yes. Okay, so it is indeed, I see the word intentional. I see the words policies, and indeed fairness and equality, of course. So procurement based on gender equalities principles. And indeed, it is a practice of ensuring equal access to procurement opportunities by addressing structural barriers. And we will get to the barriers a bit later on. And it does focus on fair, transparent policies, but based, and I think that's also very well said by Janet earlier, it's based on merit. So it is not to positively discriminate women without taking care of marriage. No, that is a minimum criteria. And on top of that, we find active measurements to promote women to participate in gender. So yes, that is gender responsive procurement. And what we are currently doing, as she supplies, is helping women in mining in Botswana to indeed improve their practices and opportunities in that area. So we are doing a diagnostic study whereby we measure all the barriers in the several categories. We measure the needs that they have, and we do so through quantitative and qualitative data. And based upon the outcomes of that study, we provide a roadmap for development and a roadmap for advocacy. And of course, whilst doing our research, as somebody once said, doing research is not neutral. You actually have an impact on people. We already noticed that the stakeholders that we are interviewing and getting together in focus group discussions, that they are already acting according to what they learn about gender responsive procurement. Because by asking questions, for example, to financial organizations, do you have this in place, that in place, this in place, that in place? Then they start to realize, oh, yeah, there is actually a lot that can be done. Because often the thinking is, well, we just don't get any women applying for tenders, so it's not our fault. So, and that way of doing study and actually immediately making it actionable is now happening in Botswana. So if we would look at the mining sector in Nigeria, because that's what most of you are here for, that is clearly also a promising area for growth in this topic. So it is promising as mining, of course, is a diversification of the economy, and the country is so much rich of all those minerals. But also in Nigeria, and please, Astrid, if you show the next slide, women-owned businesses are underrepresented. So what can be done there is really also to focus on one particular topic, namely gender responsive procurement, and see how that specific part of the mining industry can be improved. because of course more women in business in the mining sector are actually key to build this sector and to adhere to the country's governmental objectives of diversification of the economy in Nigeria. Now, let's ask ourselves first, why would then gender responsive procurement be relevant, right? And yeah, I guess that's something also we would like to ask the participants. Could you type in why do you think this is relevant? Why do you think it's needed? So rather than say, well, it is fair and it is equal, what would be, for example, the governmental reasons to actually have more women in procurement in the mining sector?
Yeah, what are the benefits for a country to focus on gender responsive procurement?
Please put it in the chat and then I'll ask Astrid to comment. So here we go. Spread wealth and promote well-being.
Yeah, shall I respond to that immediately?
Yes, go ahead, and then I'll just
It's a very
check.
important one. The government has one of their focus is economic growth, and empowering women entrepreneurs can really boost the GDP. And if you think about the fact that women are basically half of the population, and women only contribute 37% of the GDP worldwide, it really makes sense for a government to support women entrepreneurs to build economic empowerment in this group. And that will directly impact the GDP and lead to economic growth. So this is an important one.
Right.
And the social impact that it has, and that is basically spreading the wealth and building wealth, is when you provide more opportunities to women-owned businesses, they will make more money. And we know that women spend much more money on things in their own family, in their community. So if you build their wealth, you will also see social impact around education, around health. So that will really contribute to the community as well.
Yes, that's also a point mentioned in the chat, advancement of equality and socioeconomic development, increase of productivity, economic development, and somebody says one of the benefits of having policies in line with women representatives is that it creates an element of trust and in leadership and ownership of mining in and other industries. So it's also about this women having a different type of role, apparently, that creates trust and leadership.
Yeah, and it's also, if you as a government start GRP policies and practices, then often GRP requires an open and fair procurement process. So you will show the people how you spend tax money, basically, and you will basically report on that as well. And that will increase improve better governance, and it will increase public trust in the government itself.
Yeah. Okay, then we also have somebody say relevant for determining wealth distribution, and somebody saying generally women are meticulous and passionate about what they desire to do. So the result will benefit everyone, and it's important for policy empowerment.
Absolutely, yeah. And often governments have different policies, and they also have a commitment to global frameworks, like, for instance, the Social Development Goals. And by supporting women-owned businesses, they directly also align and comply with those global frameworks. So that's an important element and a reason for governments also to focus on gender-responsive procurement.
All right. Is there anything else, or could you just give some examples of gender-responsive procurement?
Yes, let me take you to the next slide. I have to constantly. So yes, so it's interesting to see that a lot of countries in Africa have already implemented some gender-responsive procurement legislation and policies and standards. One of the first countries doing this was Kenya. They had already in 2010, they had in their constitution a provision about preferential treatment of in procurement of disadvantaged people. And they also launched affirmative action laws that require that 30% of all procurement should go to this group. And it was, of course, also specifically for youth, women, and people living with disabilities. And recently, in December of this last year, 2024, launched a huge initiative together with UN Women that focuses only on gender-responsive procurement in Kenya. So this is, I think, a really interesting example of the government in one of the governments focusing on gender-responsive procurement. Another interesting example is in South Africa, where you have the broad-based Black economic empowerment, which is a legislative framework promoting economic inclusion and equity. And that also includes explicit provisions that encourages procurement from women-owned businesses. And it focuses not just on the public sector, but also on the private sector. So both countries show that there is actually quite some interesting examples of where the government actively supports gender-responsive procurement.
Well, and that's so nice because the government is actually promoting it. But why would businesses actually want to do this? What is in it for them?
Yeah, good question, Katinka, because if you don't have a real business case for it, then why would you do it? But many studies show that for companies, the reason to do it's because an increased supplier diversity really leads to innovation. It supports the resilience. It makes your company more resilient. And that was something that you specifically saw also during COVID, when a more diverse supply chain really supported businesses. It can also lead to cost efficiency, because if you have more competition in your supply chain, that will reduce the prices. So that's one thing. Another thing, when you engage with women-owned business that all operate in the communities that you are active in, that provides a direct social license to operate for your company when you do that. Another thing is, again, also the sustainability. It will enhance your business sustainability. Nowadays, many countries are also committed to the UN Global Compact. They have adopted the women empowerment principles. So doing this and supporting the economic empowerment of women entrepreneurs directly supports your business sustainability. And last, but definitely not least, is reputation. I think many countries also realize that nowadays it's not just whatever you do. No, you really have to show the outside stakeholders what you're doing and whether you do it appropriately. Especially your investors are looking at this, and also your employees. And this is something that is also more and more important. You want to keep your employees proud of your own company. And by doing this will definitely also bring some sort of excitement in the organization with your own employees.
Right, right. Can you share an example of a company that is doing it?
Yeah, there's an interesting example in South Africa. It's Anglo-American, the company. And they started a similar enterprise development program. And this is actually a good example of a very successful program where a company really supports the inclusion of women-owned businesses. Although this program is not directly targeted only to women, it was also to a much broader disadvantaged group, including the youth and people with disabilities. What you see with this program is that a large group of women entrepreneurs benefited from this program. And it was really building their capacity around business skills. One of the barriers often for women to participate is the lack of certain skills. So this program was developing their capacity around this. And it, at the same time, provided market access, because the people in the program were supported to enter the supply chain of Anglo-American. So this was a very interesting example of how GRP can benefit the women-owned businesses, but also the business itself, because the company really, because they diversified their supplier base, they had the same benefits as I mentioned before, that it's more innovative, cost-effective, etc. So I think this is a good example of a company implementing a program to support women-owned businesses.
Very nice. And I see also somebody in the chat is indeed promoting, saying, yes, the Anglo-American Zimele Fund is a big game changer in South Africa. So that is, I think, a very nice, positive example. But unfortunately, I guess the reality is that still many women-owned businesses find a lot of barriers to enter the mining industry, to actually become a supplier. And I would like to ask the participants also to put in the chat, what are the barriers you think or you experience, maybe even yourself, for women-owned businesses? And when we talk about women-owned businesses, we talk about also women-led businesses, or what we didn't get into the definition here, but when we do so, when we work with companies, we definitely work with setting up a proper definition so that you can also measure. But in general, may I ask the participants to put in the chat, yes, Patrick, already, access to finance and information. That is a very much a barrier. Lack of finance and access to global market, yes. Olusola, thank you for that. Any other barriers?
And what about the procurement required, the procurement processes? Is that something that is a barrier for women, do you think, Katinka?
Oh yes, I definitely. To be honest, we have. Let me just see what the group is saying. So we find policy and information. We find lack of funding for products, lack of land distribution, not enough investors to support women, gender stereotype. So that's sociocultural. Exposure, information, funding. Yeah, there's a lot. Branding. Maybe Shinatsa, you could explain what you mean with that. Because I know what branding means, but I don't know how you see the connection between that being a barrier. But I agree, the number of barriers are huge. We in our latest research in Botswana, we measured 25 barriers, which were financial barriers, socioeconomic barriers, barriers in the procurement processes, which was actually the largest, as well as, yeah, so I think on top, and I'm just checking here, lack of support for programs or initiatives. That's what I find here also, indeed, as well as limited information about procurement opportunities. So women often don't know because they are not part of certain networks where these procurement opportunities are actually shared. Lack of transparency in awarding contracts. That is definitely not only a gender specific issue, but that is an issue overall. Yeah, limited access to financials, or need for having certain certifications, or need for having collateral, which many women-owned businesses don't have, or just a lack of experience, right? If you try to participate in a tender and they say minimum 10 years of experience, well, that might already be a big barrier for many women who are entrepreneurs, who just want to start. So I'm just looking in the chat. Also, the strict rules of investors regarding the return on investment, etc. Yes. So all in all, we find from our research that procurement processes are very top on the list of barriers, followed by financial related barriers, and last
And
is...
Katinka, because you now mention all the barriers for the women-owned businesses, what are the barriers, or one of the key barriers that you see is always mentioned? And I'm going to put up the next slide, by companies. Can you share a bit more about that?
Yes, this is indeed an interesting, because we hear this a lot, right? This the companies that just say, yeah, we really want them, but we just can't find them.
Yeah.
So how to make sure, how to help companies to find women-owned businesses? There is a huge opportunity there. So first of all, and that comes back to the definition that I mentioned earlier. First, try to define what do you identify as a women-owned businesses? Is it that women-owned, women-led? Is that a business that has all gender equality policies in place, or zero tolerance towards gender violence or harassment? Or is that a company that has over 50% of employees being, or such and such percent? So yes, first of all, define what do you call a women-owned business. So you have the criteria, then you create a database of potential suppliers. So you identify the key sectors and collaborate with the key suppliers that comply with your definition. And then when you have them in your database, use that database, right? And you can create your own database, or you can use existing databases. There are international ones such as She Trades or We Connect International. Those are things you can use, but you can also create your local or national database. And of course, when you have a database, engage with them. You can set up meet the supplier events, or organize sessions such as this one, or so there are various ways to engage with a database, so that the access to one another becomes easier.
Absolutely. Hey, and Katinka, so if you, and then I come to the next slide, what are some key strategies for companies to implement if they are interested in starting gender responsive procurement policies and practices? Can you share a bit about?
Yes, also in that sense, there is actually a lot companies can do, right? Whilst most companies, they already have a big effort in looking at their own employees and how to create equality and how to promote women in employment, etc. In terms of the procurement or the supply chain, this is less known. So first of all, it is all about commitment, of course, of leadership. As with anything you want to implement in a company, set your industry targets and make sure people are held accountable, also in the procurement department. Then outreach to your potential women-owned business suppliers. And if you find them, but you find they are not suitable yet to supply you, then see what can you do in terms of capacity building. And that comes with partnerships where you can actually look at, well, what is their readiness, what is their technical knowledge, where are they lacking, and what can we do about it as a company. And then you develop an inclusive procurement process that is transparent, that is simplified, and that removes the barriers that we have identified earlier. So once you have done that and you've set it all up, you start tracking and make small, you don't have to be super ambitious, but make small steps in setting your KPIs and monitoring them, reporting upon them, because the more you communicate, the more you will be attractive to women entrepreneurs to come and want to join you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I think one example that I would like to share that highlights also one of these strategies is an example by Rio Tinto. They have an interesting local procurement program in Guinea. And this procurement program really supports women entrepreneurs to profile them better and to help them network. So to make them visible among key stakeholders. So they organize meet the supplier events, and they also organize access to capital. So they have collaborations with different key banks in Guinea to support women's access to capital. So I think this is a very interesting example also of a company that actively develops programs to engage with women-owned businesses, but also really provide them access to their own supply chain. So this is an interesting example. And then the next.
Right. So indeed, the collaboration. I think we've heard it also before, and Emma Kawawa stressed this very much. Collaboration is key. Now, we thought of what type of collaboration, but before we do that, we should really understand who are the stakeholders. So may I ask again the participants to put in the chat who would be the stakeholders for women-owned businesses to enter the market? And of course, we have mentioned already a few, but I think there are still many more that were not yet named, and that sometimes may be overlooked. So could you put in the chat what are the stakeholders to collaborate with when we want to promote women entrepreneurs? And here we go. Women organizations, of course. This is organizing this event is the first, right?
Absolutely. And a good example of that is when you have, especially around capacity building, existing organizations in your own country often already have programs that are geared towards the economic empowerment and also directly geared towards women entrepreneurs. So find those NGOs and collaborate with them, because they could be your partner in capacity building activities.
Then we have policymakers of the country, companies, manufacturers, banks, women development centers, private entities, network events such as Mining in Daba, fundraising events. So this is not stakeholders, but kind of get platforms, so to say. Yeah, community organizations.
Yeah.
Who are we missing? Who are we missing? Do you have?
Yeah, I think an important one that I also would highlight is business associations, and especially women's business associations. Because what Katinka said earlier, a lot of companies struggle to find women-owned businesses. So my suggestion is really start collaborating with business associations, because they often know who are the women-owned businesses. And WIMBO is also a key partner in this, or Women in Mining Nigeria. Because they have a list of women-owned businesses in there as members. So they could be also an important partner for corporations to partner with. And one other one is academic and research institutions, because a lot of the work that we do needs data. We need to know what is the current status quo and where do we want to go. And then to have that data, maybe you can collaborate with universities or other research institutions that can provide you the data, or can work with you and gather gender disaggregated data for you.
Great. I think also Patrick mentions the chambers of commerce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same there, same important partner, because they have a extensive database of SMEs and other corporations in their on file.
And Astrid, on this topic, can you give an example of what financial institutions can be expected from them in this matter?
Yeah, so for instance, there's a bank in Botswana that we spoke to, and they have different services. They want, for instance, they have a SHE account for women-owned businesses. So they have a special account with special credit applications. They pay less rent. They can get small loans without collateral. So this is different services that a bank, a financial institution can provide, but they provide also capacity building to women-owned businesses. So they trainings and mentorships. So financial institutions are also a very important partner to work with in this.
Well, yeah, so it's not only the regular financial products, but it's also the capacity building that they do.
Yeah.
And then I get the last one before we move on, geological agencies. Yeah. So, but then this is all nice and well. What do you think the role of the government is in all of this?
Yeah, that is a good question. The role of the government, well, it's quite clear, I think, that the government plays a really important role in setting the standards and setting the legislation, the legislative framework, to make sure that there's very specific provisions in this legislation. Because if there's not specifically a reference to women-owned businesses, and there's no percentages that are required and targets and quotas, that then it's very hard to enforce, I think. So they play a very important role in setting the standards in their policies and legislations. The government can also play a very important role when it comes to incentives. They can, for instance, provide tax breaks to companies that are really supportive to women-owned businesses, or they can provide grants or subsidies. So this is also a really important role for the government to play. And then, of course, you can think about capacity building programs and other support programs. They're also key in enforcing the legislation. So monitoring is a key role that they play to make sure that companies have to report on their numbers, on their progress, and that they are also reprimanded or even maybe get fines if they don't get to the requested targets.
Yeah, that brings us to the next topic, right, of measuring and evaluating. What we often find is even that if there is a policy which seems to be, well, reasonably well set up, it's all in the right, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and follow-up of the policy, the implementation, the measuring and evaluation.
Yeah, so the measuring and evaluation is, well, it's clear. Without that, you don't know where you are, you don't know where you want to go. There's no information. So it's really clear or important to have very clear measurable targets, but also to set KPIs. And one of the KPIs that you can, for instance, say like, okay, this is what we want to do. We want to go, for instance, from 2% of our procurement spend to 5% of our procurement spend to women-owned businesses in the coming year. Or you can say, I want to have reach or engage with so many women-owned businesses in a year, and you put a number. So you can really set clear KPIs. And then, of course, it's really important also to monitor what you're doing and to publish these reports or these impact reports. That can be a sustainability report, or you can inform in your annual reports. The monitoring can be done internally by your people in your organization, but you can also invite third-party audits. And you can, of course, to get other data or not qualified data, that you interview your key stakeholders. So talk to women-owned businesses and ask them what they think of what you're doing, and if they're happy with the processes, if it's clear, if it's not too complex. So there's different things to do to make sure that people know what you're doing and that you're transparent.
So you actually involve your stakeholders in monitoring of your policy. Could you give an example of that?
Yeah, like I have a nice report, the Ivanhoe Mines, their sustainability report of 2023 is a really interesting report where you see a clear commitment coming from the leadership around gender responsive procurement. They have clear targets of what they want, and they report on the progress. So I think this is a really interesting report for people to look at, to see, okay, this is how you can report on this and to create transparency of what you do. Yeah.
Wow, that's a whole lot. I think we have reached almost the full hour of this conference. I think this is a very relevant question for everybody to take home, because what we notice is when we talk about gender responsive procurement, it is not only up to the women-owned businesses to make their case to access the market. It is actually everybody can do something somewhere from wherever he or she is, within a company, within a government agency, within an advocacy NGO, whatever it may be. So the question is, and I don't think we have time, Janet, to put it in the chat, but maybe to take it home after this session and think about what is it that you can do. Because of course She Supplies, and that's the last slide, is happy to help you if we can. But I guess there's also a lot already that you can do yourself to promote gender responsive procurement. And with that, well, I don't know if there's time for any questions, but thank you for the attention.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Astrid and Dr. Katinka, for the well-packaged session on gender procurement. Gender procurement has always been a sensitive issue. And I believe that it is coming at the right time in Nigeria, when Nigeria is about entering its mining phase. Because before now, I'll tell you that we don't have serious mining companies in Nigeria like the Rio Tintos, like the Tobia you are talking about. But we know we have the resources. We have abundance of lithium. We have, I'm talking of in the mining sector per se. In the oil and gas, we don't have much problem. But in the mining sector, I think it is much. And then so coming at a time like this, I think is very important, because after gender mainstreaming, I believe that is the next thing to look at, to start talking about procurement. And then I knew that in another network I belonged to, that's ANWBM, which you call Association of Women in Association of Nigerian Women in Business. Collectively together, we working with the UN Women, we came up with what you call the gender procurement process, where the conclusion was to give 35% of all procurement, you understand, to women. And then we recognize some of the factors you have mentioned, such as women don't even have if you look at our procurement portfolio in Nigeria, is very, very inundating. Because even for men to keep up, I tell you, people fall out. There's no way. I have been registering and been part of the process because I have another company, Jabridev Nigeria Limited. But I tell you, in the last 5 or 6 years, getting a job is a bit difficult. And every year, government expects you to go through the procurement cycle, where you use almost ₦1 million to put your limited liability company in the space. You are talking about PENCOM, you are talking about tax, you are talking about all manner of documentations you need to do. And you and I know that women don't function well in that space. So that is something that always excludes women from the procurement process. Because when you come with all those conditionalities, keeping up with it is a bit challenging. Then you find some organizations, that's why I use the language intentional, that if government is actually intentional about it, then they will get women there. Because when you talk about experience, you are coming up and you say, somebody you have an experience of about 10 years, about 15 years. Where will she get that experience, for God's sake? So you have naturally shut off some people, even most times shut off even Nigerians, not even women alone. So that is why it has to be transparent. That is why it has to be realistic. And so we will look forward, eager, you understand, to work with you as international people. Maybe when we start mounting pressure, people will start looking at all these things from different angles and see where some things have to shift. If you have to put sealants and say, oh, contracts between so and so range, you understand, need not go through those processes, then so much women can fall into that category. But as it is, competing for projects is very, very challenging. To sustain a limited liability company in Nigeria that can go through those procurement processes is very expensive. And for you to start doing it year in, year out, and you are discouraged when you don't even get a job. You don't even want to go that route. So then companies themselves, government must be intentional about policies to make sure that if the intent is there to say, see, as a law, so percentage of your understand must be gender-based, then it is effective. That has worked in some countries, and I will cite example of America here, the city of Texas. In Texas here, for you to go through any procurement, an individual cannot get a job and go away with it 100%. There's the gender component, there's the military military components, yeah, that is vets, yeah, you know, then there's disability components. Then they now even brought in a component. When a company is sited in a particular community, those people living in that community has a right. So even when you are bidding for a job, you have to start go look for women. You understand? Women own business. So say, please come and join me in bidding for this job. That is a way of bringing women, and they found out there was a lot of success in it when monitored. It brought in more women into the space. You understand? So I believe that such policies are policies to be looked into. So we really appreciate you. I want to throw the floor open. I just wanted to give you our own perspective in Nigeria, you understand, for a take-home. And that is why I said so. And the company I'm referring to, Javidem Nigeria Limited, because I run an engineering firm before I took up this advocacy challenge in mining. We build dams, we do everything, but you find out that the procedure has been Herculean. You understand? When you do that year in, year out, you pay society. So many things are tied to it, which are not necessary. ITF is tied to it. You do ICF certification, and it's every year you keep on going through the same thing. It shouldn't be so. It shouldn't be so. You understand? So government is equally using their procurement process to generate revenue for themselves to the detriment, you understand, of the citizens. You must look at the pulse. You must feel the pulse of your citizens. And then we have a member here because, like by Mr. Patrick, you understand, you must look at local content. If something is being manufactured in a country, there must be a policy, restrictive censor that says until you mop up that. And that's why Mega is saying America first. Look at what your own people are doing. Bring in the indigenous people into your mainstream. You understand? Whether man or woman, I think that is very important. So I will throw the floor open to whoever wants to ask questions. We have just 2 persons, you know, to ask questions because we have overshoot our time. You understand, before we round up. Yes, Mr. Patrick, I guess I've spoken for you, but we will call you, yeah? Mr. Patrick.
Yeah, thank you very much. What a deep discussion. I wanted to drop this information because I think it's quite important for us. European Union has opened up an opportunity for stockpiling of critical minerals. I think this is something that women in mining and shear supply can actually look deeply into and see how we can work together on this opportunity, because I think it's a huge opportunity. It's the first time European Union is thinking of having a stockpile, and stockpile of its nature is something that is always refilled. So that gives a lot of opportunity for mining company to actually produce product and have an off-take relationship with the stockpile, and then start supply that is even closer to our environment than what we normally want to be Far East or Chinese focus. On your point about local content, I think the issue is that they are not really Nigerian centric. They look at having conferences. If you look at their budget, you will scream. They don't do anything significant, anything tangible that drives real value. So it's unfortunate. But then it's messaging from government. If government looks at how do we increase Nigerians, similar to what is happening in Burkina Faso, most of these things will no longer be an issue. Thank you very much.
So I think, Katinka, you took note of that. You understand? That's the essence of this collaboration. He has given a hint, you understand, on the stockpiling. You know, China boasts that they have abundant, and then I think European Union, you know, with their security, the critical security policy they've just done, they are trying to stockpile too. So that if we can get an inlet, you understand, into the supply chain and see how it can, you know, it will interest us to see what you can find out and see how to get a buy-in into that program. Thank you. So any other question from anybody, please? We want to lock up the day. We've gone. Any other question? Is anybody raising their hand? You can unmute if you have your hands because I can't see anybody. Is anybody raising up their hand?
And Janet, you're happy to share our presentation to the audience if they are interested. Because
no, they always wish everybody that comes, we get every presentation, not just yours, all the presentation today will be shared. And then it's equally on the YouTube. Yeah.
I can send you an updated version with a little bit more information. So not just the questions and the titles.
Okay, that would be nice of you. So whatever you send, we share to the audience. Yeah. Is there anybody asking any question? For Luka Ademokun, do you want to ask a question? Look, Ademoko, are you asking a question? I saw your name come up. Okay, so in the absence of any question, we want to really, really say thank you and thank you and thank you to, oh, sorry, Sidikat Lami. Yeah, you can ask your question. Yeah.
Well, I'm not asking question. I'm just moved by the last contribution by Mr. Patrick, that a buying center is not something that we must deal with in Nigeria. And thank God the minister has taken steps to doing that. For every company must be an indigenous person for processing and procurement of mineral in Nigeria as of yesterday.
Oh, thank God.
discussion. Thank you.
Thank God. So
I
I
just
think
want to give him that.
no, that's a very good, that's a good news. You understand? So with that, we thank God. That tells you that the government is doing something and they are listening. So we just keep on bringing all the issues. You understand? Nobody can have access to all the issues or solutions, but as we bring them up, they'll be able to see the merits in some of these in some of these problems. So we thank you for that information. Is there anybody saying any other thing? I hope we're all okay. So on behalf of women in mining, we want to say thank you to all our speakers. Engineer Elizabeth Rogo, Emma Kakawa, and Katinka and Astrid, we want to say thank you so much for honoring our invitation to celebrate the International Women's Day, International Women's month with us. The month officially ends on 22nd, I think. So we are really, really very grateful. We have been fired up. We have been enriched with knowledge. We have been motivated. And we want to thank all our participants from all over the world. I see Canada, I see New York, I see people from African countries all over. I want to say thank you. That is what it is all about. We must not sit and think anybody will feed us. For you to acquire knowledge, just like Kakawa said, you must be willing to step out of your comfort zone. You must explore, not sit down in one corner and expect somebody to be feeding you. You have to search for it. You have to be inspired yourself. You understand? Just like I posted on our platform today to look for. We can only bring to your notice, and it takes a lot of effort doing this. So when we do it and you don't come, there's nothing we can do more beyond what we have done. So we keep on encouraging you, to take it. Someday it will not be free. For now, it is free, so enjoy the freedom. And I think that is what is most important, for you to acquire knowledge. You understand? For people who are regular on this platform, I'm sure there are things they have gained tremendously. So on behalf of Women in Mining, again, we say thank you to every one of us. Thank you to you all. Thank you to our leaders, Professor Ako, you understand, who has been a constant one on this platform, sharing and gaining knowledge himself. We want to say thank you to you, sir. So from Women in Mining, we say bye to all of you, and bye. God be with you all. Thank you. You can unmute every